Welcome back to Good Living. Now, of course, this week is New Zealand Sign Language Week, with sign language being New Zealand's third official language. It is a very important week for us. And I would like to welcome Joyce Ferguson from Deaf Aotearoa and her sign language interpreter, Nichola Robertson. Welcome to you both. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Now, Joyce, with New Zealand Sign Language Week, what is it all about this year?
Well, New Zealand Sign Language Week is kind of a chance to be a promotion for NZSL and deaf people themselves, their community and our culture.
So how important is it for people to be aware of sign language?
Yeah, it is. It's really important because it's an official language of New Zealand and it's linked to our culture, and deaf people use that language every day for communication.
So can you tell us a couple of basic things that will help when we're conversing with a deaf person?
Well, just approach the person as you normally would. Don't stand too close and just speak nice and clearly. You don't need to shout at a deaf person. The deaf person themselves will then let you know kind of what preferred communication mode they want, whether they're not understanding so they want you to write or whether to perhaps gesture.
Fantastic. Now, an important part of a deaf person in the culture is having an interpreter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And medical situations, it's very important.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. Just because of the jargon and you need to write down information, consent forms need to be signed, and sometimes that can take a long time. So you need to have an interpreter in situations like that, just like we've got one today.
So is it okay to have a family member or a child perhaps to interpret for you?
Not really. I don't think that's really very appropriate. I think sometimes medical situations can be emotional, especially if they're relaying bad news, and a family member might not feel comfortable to communicate that back to the deaf person. The deaf person has a right themselves to speak in those situations, and family members can sometimes take away that right.
Okay, so what is the process when we need to engage an interpreter?
In a medical situation, you could book an interpreter through the customer services office within the hospital. With GPs, you can book an interpreter through iSign.
Great. And when we are engaging with an interpreter and a deaf person, who do we speak to or look at?
Good question. You would talk directly to the deaf person and look at the deaf person. The interpreter would generally sit beside the doctor, or like Nichola sitting beside you today, and the deaf person would look between the two people.
And what about using visual aids?
Yeah, absolutely. That can be a really successful way to communicate. Like in a medical situation, they often have pictures of hearts or little models and things like that, and that's a good way of kind of just helping the communication, making sure everything's understood well. And also, you know, you would always check with the person. Do you understand? Have you understood what we've just been talking about? If the person's not replying, then generally speaking, you can assume they haven't understood.
Where can our viewers find out more about learning sign language?
Well, for information regarding that, you could go to the Deaf Aotearoa office. Lachlan Keating is the manager there, and we have night classes around the city, and in this week we actually have some taster NZSL classes as well. So that's where we provide just little classes to different organisations for, say, 45 minutes to an hour, and they're free, just to get people, you know, give them a taste of NZSL.
And with NZSL now being our third official language, are we becoming better at being more exposed to it?
I think it has improved, but I think there's still a long way to go. This is only we're in our 4th year, so I think those sort of things take time to get the exposure that we probably need. But it is getting better.
And will there always be a need for interpreters with technology?
No, I think there will always be a need for interpreter. In fact, more and more of a need for interpreters, just for access and communication, to make sure deaf people can be involved in different events, like studying.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been really good to see the language being used here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joyce, and thank you, Nichola. My sister, by the way. New Zealand Sign Language Awareness Week is happening this week. Remember, it is right through until May the 8th. And if you'd like some more information, do have a look at their website. It's really comprehensive. It has all of those details about where you can get those free taster lessons and everything that you need to know about the importance of this language. So it is nzsign.co.nz.